Hey, mathematicians, welcome to Quotient of Powers. We're dealing with division properties of exponents. Again, keeping with that theme that we really want to keep them simplified. So now what we're going to be doing is dealing with division. So when I look at this particular problem, so we're dealing with quotient of powers. Quotient is the answer to a division problem. So we're dividing powers. When I look at this particular first one, x to the 6th divided by x squared, what that means is I've got x to the 6th, which means there's 6 x's, divided by x squared, which is 2 x's. And now when we simplify fractions, we look for commonalities. So what I can do then is I can cancel out the x's like this. 1x in the numerator cancels out 1x in the denominator. And so when I do that, I'm left with x to the 4th. So to simplify x to the 6th divided by x to the 2nd, we get x to the 4th. Let's look at the numerator, the fraction in this next problem. 4 to the 9th over 4 to the 7th. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I can do the same thing. I can cancel out the like terms in each of them. So when I do that, this one cancels out, cancels out, cancels out. So what I'm doing is I'm canceling out till I have left 2 in the numerator. So 4 squared is going to be my answer. Okay. All right. So let's try some of these out. And again, with previous learning, and what we've done previously, you write out as much as you need to write out, but you don't have to write. I mean, you just kind of go with what you need. Okay, so here we go. Let's look at the first one. So I have 7 x's in the numerator. So I'm going to write this out. And again, we just write out as we're learning. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then my y's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3. So I'm writing it out the long way. When we're first learning what's going on, that's what we want to start with. So then I can go ahead and cancel it out. So I cancel out what they have in common. I notice I have an x left. And then I cancel out my y's. And I look at what I have left. And when I look at this, I end up with x to the 1st times y to the 9th. And that's my answer. Okay. And as we go through this, you might start seeing some connections as we go through it. All right, let's try the next one. So we have g to the 3rd. I'm going to write it back in blue here. So we have 1, 2, 3, and then h to the 5th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over g, h, h. Now I'm going to cancel out what's in common. I'm writing out the long way. Cancel out a g, cancel out a couple h's. I'm left with 2 g's in the numerator and 3 h's. G squared, h to the 3rd. Let's try another one. A to the 3rd, b to the 9th. Whoops, excuse me. Let's try that again. So A, and then 9 b's. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. A, B, B. Let's go ahead and cancel out what we know. I'm left with 2 a's in the numerator. B, I'm left with 7 b's in the numerator. So 8 squared, b to the 7th. Have you noticed a trick? If you have, you can go with it. All right, here we go. Here's some other options. Let's work with it. So I've got, these have integers in it, which is something you haven't seen yet. So we're going to practice that. So I'm writing it all out right now. All right, here we go. 10 and 5, I can simplify those. So I've got 2 over 1. Then I can cancel out my x's. So I end up with x to the 6th on top. Cancel out my y's. Y squared on top. So there's my answer. All right, so this one gives us a good mix because we're pulling in that power of a product and some division. So let's make this happen. So what we have is 2 to the 3rd x. So I have 3 groups of 4. So that's x to the 12th. And I have 3 groups of 6, which is y to the 18th, divided by 6, x to the 5th, y to the 4th. So what I'm going to do now is write it out the long way. So I've got 2 times 2 times 2 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh, 18. Let's think. Is there a way that we could do this shorter? That's a whole lot of writing out. If you haven't noticed it yet, what you can do is when you look at the problem, and I look at, okay, so I'm going to look at just 8 and 6. If I had a fraction that was 8, 6, I would divide both of those by 2, and I would end up with 4/3. 8, 6 is 4/3. When I look at my x's, I have 12 on top and 5 on the denominator. The 5 in the denominator are going to cancel out 12 on the top in the numerator, so I'm going to be left with 7. I'm in essence taking 12 minus 5. And then I'm going to do the same thing with my y's. I have 18 in the numerator and 4 in the denominator, so that's going to be y to the 14th. There's my answer. Okay. And one more that we're going to talk about is power of a quotient. What we're saying is we're taking this part 3 times. So a squared times a squared times a squared, b to the 4th times b to the 4th times b to the 4th. And when I look at that, I've got 2, 4, 6 a's and 4, 8, 12 b's. A to the 6th, b to the 12th. Okay. Same thing when we're looking at these. Now, when you have a power of a product or power of a quotient, sometimes it's easier to simplify before you use that power, and sometimes it's not. And that's something that you're going to work through to figure out what works best for you. So this 3 tells me to take this 3 times. So 4c squared d squared over 5 times 4c squared d squared over 5 times 4c squared d squared over 5. And now I'm going to multiply across. And this is pulling in our multiplication from before. So I've got my 4s, I have my c's, I have my d's, and then I have my 5s. So here we go. 4 squared c to the 6th. Sorry, it's 4 to the 3rd. C to the 6th and d to the 6th, 5 to the 3rd. And there we go. That's my answer. All right, let's look at this next one. You know, when I mentioned that it sometimes might be easier to simplify first, I think I'm going to do that because when I look at my m's and then I look at the rest of it, I can simplify that. So I'm going to have 3m n to the 5th over 4p to the 5th q. And I'm going to multiply it 3m n to the 5th, 4p to the 5th q. And now I can multiply it out and it might be a little bit easier. 3 times 3 is 3 to the squared. M and m is m squared. N to the 5th and n to the 5th is n to the 10th. 4 times 4 is 4 squared. P to the 5th times p to the 5th is p to the 10th. And then q squared. And there's my answer. All right. So that's just kind of a review of what we talked about, and it kind of explains the shortcut. So I hope you have a fantastic day. We'll talk with you soon. Take care.